The AgWeek Soil Health Minute is sponsored by the North Dakota Corn Council.
In this year's episodes of the Soil Health Minute, Dr. Abbey Wick talks to the experts to answer your most asked questions. Today, the topics are fertilizer application and disease transfer.
With an early harvest and an interest in going into reduced till systems, I'm getting a lot of questions from farmers about how do I fertilize in this type of system and what kind of time do I have this fall to get that fertilizer on the ground. So I asked Dr. Dave Franzen, the NDSU Extension Soil Specialist, how would farmers go about that this fall, but then also in the spring if they didn't get their fall fertilizer down in a reduced till system?
There's quite a few people in this region that do strip till, and so there's always a question, can I put all my fertilizer down with strip till when I make my strips? Well, the best time to make the strips is as soon as you get your small grains off, your early crop off. It's okay for your phosphate, potash, but you don't want to put your nitrogen down that early. There's always a little bit of a penalty in putting on nitrogen in the fall. Sometimes it's very small, sometimes it's a little bit bigger. It depends on all the rainfall you get and how long a fall there is. If you can get it on this fall and you can get it on in good soil conditions, then you're ahead of the game for spring. But if you go into spring and didn't get a whole lot on in the fall, don't feel too bad about it because the efficiency of your nitrogen that's applied in the spring is usually greater than that in the fall.
Another question I often get is about disease pressures from cover crops going into cash crops. So I asked Dr. Andrew Friskop, NDSU Extension plant pathologist, what he thinks about that and what we need to be watching out for next year in our cash crop.
When you think about cover crops and diseases, the two questions that come into mind is A, how do they overwinter? And B, what type of host do they infect? So if we want to use rust as an example, leaf rust we find on cereal rye, we know it doesn't overwinter in the state and it's blown up from the south. So A, we're not going to worry about it from this year's cover crop, but potentially what's going to come up from the south next year. Second thing about rust, it is very host specific. So the leaf rust that's hitting rye isn't going to move to dry beans. It's not going to move to wheat. It is very specific to rye. So a couple things to keep in mind is how does the disease overwinter, and more or less what host is it going to hit next year.
For more information, you can check out the NDSU Soil Health webpage, or if you have a question you want answered on the Soil Health Minute, you can contact me with the information on your screen.